Sign it. Or I sedate you, and we do the implant anyway. My mother threw the thick legal document onto my lap. I didn't scream, even though my wrists were zip-tied to the chair. I just scanned the first paragraph and let out a cold laugh. You're going to federal prison for tax evasion before the ink dries on this, Mom. Her face went slack. It was the look of a gambler who just realized the dice were loaded. What are you talking about? She stammered, clutching the contract to her chest like a shield. It's cash. The buyers are paying cash. Even better, I said, leaning back as far as the zip ties allowed. You think you can just walk into Wells Fargo with a duffel bag containing $135,000? The second you deposit more than $10,000, the teller files a currency transaction report. If you try to split it up into smaller deposits, that's called structuring. It's a federal felony. The algorithm freezes your accounts before you even get back to your car. I watched the color drain from her face. She looked at the paper in her hands, then back at me, terror replacing the greed in her eyes. She had no idea. To her, money was just paper. To me, money was a trail of breadcrumbs leading straight to a jail cell. The IRS tracks everything, Mom. And since you owe them back taxes from the clinic bankruptcy, their system will flag that deposit as a seizure event. You won't see a dime. You'll just see handcuffs. She started pacing the small room, her heels clicking nervously on the concrete floor. No. They said it was safe. They said it was a consulting fee. They lied, I said softly. They are buying a human being. They don't care if you go down for it. Watching her panic, my mind flashed back to 72 hours ago. The invitation had looked so innocent. An email with a subject line that simply read, I'm sorry. It was an invite to a wellness retreat in Sedona. Just the two of us. A chance to heal. I actually believed her. I packed a bag. I drove us there. I sat on the terrace of the rental cabin, watching the sunset, feeling the desert wind cool the sweat on my neck. She brought me tea. To new beginnings, she had said, smiling that warm, maternal smile I had craved for 29 years. I drank it. It tasted like hibiscus and ash. 10 minutes later, the horizon tilted. The floor rushed up to meet me. The last thing I heard before the blackness swallowed me wasn't an apology. It was her voice on the phone, cold and transactional. She's out. Bring the van. I blinked, snapping back to the present. The woman pacing in front of me wasn't my mother. She was a predator who had drugged her own child for a payout. And the daughter she thought she had captured? That daughter died in the back of the van. The woman sitting in this chair was a senior paralegal who ate fraudsters for breakfast. You have two options, I said, my voice cutting through her spiraling panic. Option A. You force me to do this. I scream. I fight. Maybe you succeed, but the moment that money hits your account, I trigger a fraud alert. You lose the money, the house, and your freedom. She stopped pacing. She looked at me, desperate, sweaty, looking for a lifeline. What's option B? She whispered. Option B, I said, locking eyes with her. You let me help you wash it. Patricia hesitated, her eyes darting between me and the phone in her hand. Greed warred with paranoia. But greed always wins with her. I need to make a call, she muttered, backing toward the door. Don't move. Hard to move when I'm zip-tied to a chair, Patricia, I said flatly. She slipped out, the heavy metal bolt sliding home with a finality that echoed in my chest. But the room didn't stay empty. The side door opened, and my sister walked in. Felicia looked 26 going on 50. Her hair was thin, pulled back in a greasy ponytail, and her skin had the gray pallor of someone who lived on caffeine and desperation. She dragged a metal stool in front of me and sat down, a serrated hunting knife resting casually on her knee. Hi, V, she said. Her voice was scratchy, like dry leaves skittering on pavement. Felicia, I acknowledged, keeping my voice level. You look tired. 3 surrogacies in 4 years will do that to you, she said, lighting a cigarette. The smoke curled around us, acrid and thick. Mom says you're being difficult. Just sign the paper, V. It's easier if you just let it happen. It's slavery, Felicia. You know that. You're the one who told me the last couple stiffed you on the medical bills. I leaned forward as much as the restraints allowed. Untie me. We can walk out of here. I have money. Real money, not Mom's fantasy cash. I can get you a lawyer. I can get you out of this debt. She laughed, a harsh, barking sound that turned into a cough. She stood up and walked over to me. Without a word, she lifted the hem of her oversized t-shirt. I flinched. Her stomach was a roadmap of trauma. Keloid scars from C-sections crisscrossed her abdomen, angry and purple. Stretch marks radiated like spiderwebs. It wasn't a stomach. It was a war zone. You think this is about money? She whispered, dropping the shirt. Look at you. Professional suit, expensive haircut, soft hands. You left, Vanessa. You ran off to the city and became a big shot. And you left me here to be the spare parts. I escaped. I corrected. You could have come with me. And go where? I didn't have the grades. I didn't have the scholarship. I had Mom. She leaned in close, her breath smelling of menthols and decay. You think you're special because you're smart? You're just lucky. And now your luck has run out. I looked into her eyes and saw something terrifying. It wasn't just obedience to our mother. It was the crab mentality in its purest, most toxic form. She was in the pot, boiling alive. And the sight of me climbing out didn't inspire her to escape. It made her want to drag me back down into the water. If she had to burn, she wanted company. My freedom was an insult to her suffering. If I sign that, I said, my voice cold, I become just like you. Broken. Used. Exactly. She smiled. And it was the cruelest expression I had ever seen. Why should you be the only one who gets to keep her body? Welcome to the family business, big sister. She sat back down on the stool, the knife glinting in the dim light. I stopped pulling at the zip ties. There was no reasoning with her. She wasn't a victim waiting to be saved. She was a guard dog who resented the wolf for running wild. I was truly alone. The heavy bolt slid back, and Patricia stormed into the room. She looked manic, hair frizzing at the temples, sweat staining the collar of her silk blouse. The buyers are here, she hissed, wiping her hands on her pants. They brought cash. We're doing this now. You're making a mistake, I said, calm, almost bored. I told you. Cash over 10 grand triggers the algorithm. You take that bag, and you're flagging yourself to every federal agency from here to D.C. Then what do? She was vibrating with anxiety. She was a receptionist who thought she was a mastermind. And the cracks were showing. You wash it, I said. You set up a limited liability company. You structure the payment as a consulting fee for biomedical research. It's tax deductible for them. And it looks clean for you. No flags, no IRS, just profit. She stopped. Her eyes narrowed. Why would you help me? Because I want 40%, I lied. And I want to walk out of here. If I scream, we both lose. If I help you, we both get paid. I'm a paralegal, Patricia. I don't care about morality. I care about leverage. It was the perfect lie because it was exactly what she would have done. She stared at me, weighing the risk against the greed. Greed won. It always does. 30%. She countered. 40, I said. Or you can explain to the IRS why you have 100 grand in a duffel bag. She gritted her teeth. Fine. 40. But if you try anything, I'm zip-tied to a chair in the middle of nowhere, I reminded her. Just give me the laptop. I can set up the shell structure in 10 minutes. She pulled a pocket knife from her purse and cut the ties on my wrists. The rush of blood to my hands was painful. A sharp pins and needles burn. But I didn't rub them. I didn't want to show weakness. She slammed her laptop onto my lap. It was an old Dell. Heavy and slow. Don't get cute, she warned, moving to stand directly behind my shoulder. I'm watching every keystroke. Watch away, I said. But don't ask me to explain the tax code. It's boring. I opened the browser. My fingers hovered over the keys. This was it. One chance. I can't just type this in Word, I said, keeping my voice monotone. To make it binding and tax deductible for the buyers, I have to register the preliminary contract on the state digital ledger. It timestamps the transaction so it looks like a pre-existing agreement. Just do it, she snapped. I navigated to my firm's secure portal. It looked like a standard, boring corporate login screen. Gray background, blue logo. I typed in my credentials. Welcome, V. Reynolds. Senior paralegal. Patricia leaned in closer, her breath hot on my neck. What is that? The intake form, I said. I'm creating the entity. I clicked through the tabs. Client matter. Billing. Archives. I moved the cursor to the bottom right corner of the screen. There was a small, unassuming checkbox labeled Archive Failure. Code 99. To a layman, it looked like a glitch report. To everyone at my firm, it was the red flag protocol. It meant, employee in immediate duress. High-risk extraction required. Trace this login. My finger trembled. Just once. I forced it steady. Is that it? Patricia asked, pointing at the screen. Is the company made? Almost, I said. I just need to clear the system cache to finalize the timestamp. I clicked the box. A small pop-up appeared. Error report submitted. That was the signal. Somewhere in a glass office in Phoenix, a red light just started flashing on the security chief's dashboard. My GPS coordinates were being triangulated. The clock had started. Done, I said, closing the tab before she could read the fine print. The entity is live. Now we just need the contract. I opened a blank document and started typing legal gibberish. Patricia let out a breath she'd been holding for days. She patted my shoulder. A grotesque parody of affection. See, she said. We make a good team when you stop fighting me. Yeah, I said, typing faster. We're a regular dream team. I wasn't writing a contract. I was writing her confession. But she didn't need to know that yet. The heavy steel door groaned open, and the desert heat rolled in, followed by a man and a woman who looked like they had taken a wrong turn on their way to a board meeting. They didn't look like hopeful parents desperate for a child. They looked like venture capitalists here to strip mine a failing startup. The man wore a bespoke charcoal suit that cost more than my car. The woman was in cream silk, her face a mask of bored indifference. They stepped into the dim room, their eyes scanning the stained concrete floor, the peeling paint, and my mother's manic, sweat-drenched face. The woman wrinkled her nose, smelling the stale fear in the air. This is a joke, the man said, his voice flat. He didn't even look at me. He looked at Patricia. You said a private medical facility. This is a shack in the middle of a wasteland. It's secluded, Patricia stammered, wringing her hands. For privacy. High-profile clients prefer. This is amateur hour, the woman cut her off. She turned on her heel, her silk skirt swishing against the dirty doorframe. We're leaving. Come on, David. The broker promised professional handling. Not. Whatever this is. Patricia let out a choked sound of panic. If they walked out that door, she lost the money. If she lost the money, the loan sharks she owed would be breaking her legs by sunset. But more importantly, if they left now, they wouldn't be here when the police arrived. I needed them in the room. I needed the entire ring to go down, not just the middleman. I sat up straighter in the chair, smoothing my rumpled blouse with as much dignity as I could muster. I switched off the terrified daughter and turned on the senior paralegal. Apologies, I said, my voice projecting clear and authoritative across the room. My client is eccentric, but the product is premium. They stopped. The man reassessed me. Not a victim anymore, but a negotiator. I have the medical records, I said, tapping the laptop. Genetic screening. Full history. Ivy League. No addictions. You're not paying for the room. You're paying for the vessel. The woman scanned my body like livestock. Sit, I said. Let's talk terms. As they discussed exclusivity clauses, I opened a hidden window and logged into Patricia's cloud account. Same password as always. Inside. Receipts. Threats. Payment ledgers. Trafficking records. I shared the entire folder with my firm's senior partner. Upload. 95%. What's taking so long? The woman snapped. Encryption, I said. Sent. I reopened the contract. Ready to sign. They did. Patricia beamed. Transfer the funds. I clicked finalize. Ping. Her phone locked. It's not a deposit, I said calmly. It's a federal freeze. You just signed a confession for trafficking and tax fraud. The door exploded inward. Federal agents, down. Inspector Miller entered. Vanessa Reynolds? Here. Patricia protested too late. The buyers were cuffed. She was arrested. You forced me to open the laptop, I told her softly. You rang the bell. At the station, Miller confirmed the charges. Kidnapping. Wire fraud. Trafficking conspiracy. She wants to see you. No. And your sister? She testifies. Therapy. No contact with me ever. That night, in my apartment, I deleted Mom from my phone. It tasted like freedom. What's the price of your peace?